Hey there, happy coders. This is Kevin with happycoding.io here. And today I want to work on a project that's going to combine a couple of different things like the fetch function and parsing JSON and building some HTML. And the reason I want to do that is, let me explain that, I guess. So I have this website, happycoding.io, which you're probably familiar with, has tutorials and examples and all that stuff. And I focus a lot on like creative coding and all that kind of thing. And another sort of project I have that I do just for fun is this Etsy store. So I create these kind of like visualizations, or I guess you would call it art. I kind of hesitate to call anything I do art, but whatever, it's close enough, I guess. And I create these things using processing and other like creative coding type tools. So I don't know, for example, here's a poster that you can buy that shows this like really colorful like spiral design. And I think it looks pretty cool. And I think it's even cooler when people choose to buy these things, and like knowing that people have stuff I created hanging up in their house is totally awesome. So I do it kind of just for fun, not really for any real profit or anything, but just kind of to do it. And what I want to do is create basically like some links from happycoding.io to the Etsy store. And so maybe that will show up kind of like how I show links to blog posts or examples or tutorials, with like a thumbnail, maybe like a link and maybe a description, something like that. And I'd like to show that. I'm not sure exactly where yet, honestly. Maybe from the homepage, maybe from like the examples page, something like that. But I want to build kind of the HTML that creates that thumbnail link. So like an image, title, description. And I could do that kind of manually. I could just write the HTML and add it to the HTML that creates this homepage or whatever page I decide to add it to. But that would mean that whenever I add a listing, these are called, anytime I add a listing to Etsy, I'd have to like go back and also add it to Happy Coding, which feels kind of annoying. And I also really love the idea of randomness, especially like randomness as design or as a design tool. So for example, like the background image of Happy Coding is chosen randomly. It's not drawn randomly, but it chooses from a predefined list of possible backgrounds. And it's just kind of a subtle, I don't know, fun random thing that happens. The other thing you might notice is like this up here in the upper right, that's also random. And I like that kind of thing. And like if you stare at the color of the nav bar, that will also kind of change randomly throughout time. And so I kind of rely on this idea of randomness in a lot of the things I do. Maybe it's a crutch, maybe it's because I'm not creative enough to like come up with something myself, but I kind of like the idea of leaving it up to chance. So anyway, that kind of rambling was to say that like I don't want to just link to like the same 3 or 4 or however many listings from the homepage. I think I want to choose it randomly. I want to choose a random set of some number, 2, 3, 4, something like that, from my listings and show that like as a div or something in the HTML. So I want to build that using JavaScript so that I can add that randomness rather than building it from hand. Building HTML by hand. So one thing I did some reading on is that Etsy actually has an API, and it's pretty cool. You can read through it on their developers site and get more information. But essentially what it lets you do is query the listings for a particular account or just generally. So you can read through here to get more information. Let's see if I can remember what pages I was looking at. Yeah, it's like here's the kind of like URL you would use, and it gives you access to so in here like listings, and it gives you these kinds of fields. Wait, actually, that's just one type of field. That's like a status. So you can go through here. I guess here's the fields I was looking for. So you can get like listing ID, like title of listing, description of the listing, blah blah blah. You can get all that stuff from the API, and that lets you write code that builds, you know, something based on the information that's in Etsy. And I'm using the Etsy API, but the ideas that I'm going to talk about apply to pretty much any API that you find. So just to show you an example of what that looks like, here's like the raw output. You can go to this URL and see the raw output of the API. And if you look at it, it's kind of messy, but it does indeed show like information about my Etsy listing. So here's a description of a listing, and it's like, this is a frame from Black Panther. So that's describing let me see if I can find it real quick. This one, that's describing this listing, and in a way that I can write code that works with this. But this kind of raw output is a little messy, and there's like a quota that I'm not sure if I would reach, and I just kind of like formatting my stuff a little bit more cleanly. And so what I actually did before this video is I wrote a processing sketch in like pure processing that uses the API and loads it as JSON, and then does some processing that essentially takes out only the things I care about. So I don't care about some of these like random like values. Like I don't even know what hex code is for a listing, brightness. No, I don't care about that stuff. And so the raw output has a lot of stuff I don't actually care about. So I wrote this processing sketch to focus on only the fields that I care about, download those, format those into a file, and output that. And that output looks like this. And so you can see that this is a little bit easier to read, and it doesn't have quite as many fields, and the fields are kind of named something more accessible than what they were named in the raw output. So the raw output has images, like the format of them is a little bit goofy. So I changed that to just like image big and image small and URL. So here's like a small image, here's a big image. Okay, so actually now that I'm looking at it, that's the same thing. So I wonder if there's a bug in my output, but let's cross that bridge when we get there, when we start playing with it. So anyway, here's the file, and I've already uploaded this to happycoding.io so that I can work with it. So here's the output of the processing script, but the ideas are the same. This is essentially a rudimentary JSON API. I only have like one thing you can do with the API, and that's list all of the listings in my account, but that's all I would need from the Etsy API anyway. All right, so that was kind of a big intro, but that's kind of what I'm working with. And my goal is to eventually add some links to happycoding.io to my Etsy account. So let's kind of just dive in and get started. So I've created a couple files that I will need, actually only one. So I've started with this index.html file, which is just like 7 lines of HTML that doesn't do anything, just has hello world in it. And I can open that up in my browser and say, see hello world. There it is. Cool. So this is where I'm starting. All right. So the first thing I want to do is actually load some JavaScript. I could put it in its own file. Yeah, actually, let me do that. Usually I'll just put it like right in here, but since I'm going to be exporting this back to Happy Coding, I'm going to actually follow some best practices and actually put it in its own file. So let's call this like Etsy listings.js, something like that. And let me actually create this this JS file, Etsy listings.js. Windows is going to yell at me because I'm changing file name. Yeah, fine. Actually, yeah, whatever. So now I have Etsy listings.js, and let's edit this thing to just say like console.log hello, just to make sure that everything's kind of connected. So now if I go back here, I should see hello printed to the console, and I do. So that means that this HTML file is indeed loading my JavaScript file, and it's running the JavaScript in there. Fine, fine, fine. So now what I want to do is create like a, I don't know, like a function probably. So like function get Etsy listings, I don't know, something like this. Doesn't take any parameters or anything. It's going to do something. So maybe just start with console.log again, getting listings. And I'm going to go back to my HTML and I'm going to maybe call that function from onload. Get listings, I don't remember what I called it, I already forgot. Get listings, get Etsy listings, fine. So I should just kind of see the same thing. Yep, okay, everything's connected. And so now I actually need to use the fetch function, and maybe I should have prefaced this up top, but I just wrote a tutorial on fetch, which is why this is kind of on my mind. But if you want to learn more about what I'm about to get into, you can come to happycoding.io and there's a fetch tutorial inside the JavaScript tutorials. So you can read all about it here and get more information and run through this like starter code and all that stuff. But for me, what do I need to do? So there's two ways you can basically use fetch. You can use it with async and await, or you can use it with promise chaining. And they're kind of the same, they're two sides of the same coin, but I just need to decide like which one I want to use. And to decide that, so fetch is a little bit newer. Like I know it doesn't work in all browsers, like it doesn't work in Internet Explorer, and that's fine. I don't care about Internet Explorer, but I'm not sure about like the async and await keywords. Those are also kind of new. So let me see, like there's a website called Can I Use, which helps you determine like whether you can use something in particular browsers. So what do I want? Async and await. Yeah. So async and await. So IE is out. That's fine. Looks like everything else is okay. Maybe just like the whatever UC browser for Android is. I guess that's like the native browser for Android, but I think they mostly come with Chrome now anyway. So looks like async and await is relatively safe. Yeah, I don't even know what some of this stuff is. That's funny. Opera Mini, yeah, I don't care. IE 11, that's actually a little bit newer, but I don't care. I think I'm fine with it. I think I don't care about IE. If you're using IE and you look at my site, then maybe you should probably use a different browser. That's okay. So I think I'm going to use async and await just because it'll simplify things in my brain anyway. But you could also use function or promise chaining. What I'm going to do is, so I'm going to declare this async. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to do something like const, like response equals fetch of the URL of my JSON file. So this fetches the content at this URL, which is this JSON, and I need to await this, and gives me the response. Okay, that makes sense. And so the reason I have to use async and await is fetch kind of happens in the background. So fetch makes a request over the network, which takes some amount of time depending on your network connection and the server speed and all that stuff. But it can take some amount of time, so your browser doesn't want to just hang out and wait for this thing. And so you either need to use promise chaining, which is like a callback that says when this completes, then do whatever. Or you can use async and await, where async tells JavaScript that you can run this whole function in the background, and that's totally fine. And inside of an async function, you can use the await keyword, which says actually do wait for the response because we are doing the whole thing in the background. So that's what this keyword is doing. Anyway, what do I want to do next? I want to take this response. So the response contains the JSON, and I need to parse that JSON. So I need to do const listings equals await response.json. And again, it's a similar idea. The JSON function actually reads the content, which is itself asynchronous. And so I have to await the result of that. And that will parse my content into an array, because that's what the JSON contains. So just to double check all of that, I'm going to say something like this, where I say listings.length, just to check that I'm actually getting what I think I am. All right, and then I actually need to call that function. I already did that from the HTML, didn't I? Yeah, okay. Yeah, whatever. Let's just see it and see what breaks. Cool, that actually worked. So listing 68, that's the right number. I happen to know that because the raw output actually told me that as well. Since I'm giving the whole array, I don't need that as a separate variable. I actually don't even know why they put that here, maybe for pagination or something. But anyway, my code is working so far. All right, cool. So I've got this array. And, oh man, what do I want to do? I want to choose like some number of random indexes of this array. So I want to choose like 3 or however many number, whatever count I decide on, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Choose that many random indexes. And so I can come up with a random number, but I want to do it with like without repeating it. Is there like a JavaScript shuffle function? Let's see, JavaScript array shuffle, maybe. This is like actually writing the algorithm. There's not like a handy like array.shuffle would be optimal. That'd be great. But it's fine. I think I can just do it a different way, because like shuffling an array of 68 elements just to get 3 of them out is probably overkill anyway. So instead of that, what am I going to do? I'm going to make an array of indexes. Let's see how we feel about this. So const indexes equals, I'm going to make it an empty array, and then I'm going to say for I'm thinking in Java right now. I was about to type int I. It's not going to work. Let I equals 0. I is less than some number. I'm going to say 3 for now. And inside this array, I'm going to create a random index. So actually, what I'm going to do is do while indexes.length is less than some number, 3. Yeah, okay. And in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a random number. Index equals math.floor, math.random times what? Times listings.length. So the highest number will be the length -1, and the lowest number will be 0. Yeah, I think that's right. Sure. And what I'm going to do is, so I'm only going to add this to my indexes if indexes does not already contain it. And I think there's like a JavaScript array function like sum. I always forget if it's sum or any. Sum. Yeah. Or is there a contains actually? That would be even easier. Yeah, this thing includes. Yeah. That's even better. Okay, so I'll say if not indexes.includes index, then indexes.push index. Okay. So I'm looping until I add 3. I'm coming up with a random index that I'm only adding if I don't have it, which means that if I choose the same index here twice in a row, then I'll just skip this. The array won't grow, and I'll just try again. And just to make sure this is working, maybe I'll do like indexes. I don't remember if JavaScript's array is smart enough to actually output this, but we'll find out. And let's go back here. Cool. Cool. Oh, no, this is cool. Like the 67, I was lucky here. I was wondering how I was going to confirm that I didn't have like an off by one error, but like the fact that 67 is included is promising. I would not expect 68 to be included, but 67 is fair game. So I can run this a few times just to kind of sanity check it, and it seems to be fine. Cool. That went surprisingly well. I kind of did not think that this would work. Thought there would be some kind of weird random typo or something. I shouldn't have said that. Now I've jinxed it. Anyway, so now I have my indexes. So that's good. And what I can do is get like use those to get listings out of my array. So I can do for const index of indexes, which will iterate over the indexes I am using. Maybe let me keep this print statement up here just for now. This one I think we can get rid of because we've confirmed that we're actually getting the right thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is say const listing equals listings indexes. Wait, no, just index, right? Because I'm already getting like the for of thing. Right, okay, so listings index. Okay, and just for funsies, I'm going to say console.log listing dot, and what did I call this stuff? Listing dot title, sure. So you notice that like I test my code like every 2 or 3 lines or so, just because this helps me catch my mistakes earlier. So it's not like I tried to write my whole thing and then I tested it. I'm testing out these like smaller pieces, which is super important. So indexes, 3 indexes, and we got random, Walker, black and white, blah, blah, blah. So Sonic the Hedgehog, let's see, let's check something. So this is index 4, Sonic the Hedgehog, is that right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So there it is. Cool, so that seems to be working. Nice. And now what do I want to do? So all of that was just to get the listings. And now I actually want to build some HTML. And I haven't even thought about what that should look like yet. What do I want to do here? So I think what I want to do is maybe I'll add a div here, div ID equals, and let's just call it Etsy listings. I've been calling everything Etsy listings. Let's just keep that. And yeah, that's fine for now. And what I'll do is maybe here, maybe I'll say const container div or const listings div, or maybe let's just call it container div equals document.get element by ID Etsy listings. Sure. And then in here, I want to, all right, I think I know what to do. I'm going to say something like container div dot append child, and I'm going to use like a helper function. That'll make my life a little easier. Like build Etsy thumbnail, you know, something like this, Etsy thumbnail, and I'm going to give it the listing. Okay. And then I'm going to create another function, and I don't know if this one needs to be async because I'm calling it from an async function. No, I don't think so. Don't think that would make sense. Function, what did I call this? Build Etsy thumbnail, and it's going to take a listing. Sure. And for now, what I'm going to do is say return some hard-coded HTML. Hello. /h1. And actually, I can be a little bit smarter than that. I can say plus listing.title plus, yeah, okay. So return some HTML based on listing. Fine. And yep, let's just see what happens. And ooh, great example of why I test it like every 3 lines, because something broke. Append child of null. Excuse me, why? Container div, what did I call this? Get element by ID Etsy listings. Is that not what I called it over here? Oh, SD. That's funny. Etsy listings, sure. No? Oh, wait, failed to execute append child. Oh, right. So I'm saying append child, and then I'm building a string here. That's not going to work. What is this function? It's like document.create text node. It's kind of a goofy one, but I just want to get this kind of working. I don't think I'll be building it that way in a minute, but oh, okay. Well, I mean, this sort of makes sense. It's a text node that contains HTML, but it's fine. It's whatever. It works. It's doing what I'm telling it to, and that's fine. It's not what I actually want it to do, but I'm at least confirming that everything's connected. So, all right, let me think about this for a second. What I'm thinking about is whether I want to return like an element, which is what this is expecting here, or whether I want to return a string. I think I'm going to return an element. Okay, let's do it this way. Whoops. So I'm going to say like const div equals, I think it's document.create element, and then I give it a tag div. And then I'm going to say div.inner HTML equals, and I don't need to create a text node anymore. I can just give it the whole thing. And then I want to return div. Okay, so now I'm actually building a div and I'm using HTML. Cool. And maybe it's goofy that I kept that hello in there. That's fine, whatever. But now you have some HTML built off of random listings, and that seems to work. All right. So next, I mean, basically the rest of this video is going to be me playing with this HTML to build it out, and then maybe adding some CSS. But everything that needs to be connected is mostly connected. So let me think about this. So I want maybe to add a class here, div.append class. Is that what this is? And I'll call it like Etsy thumbnail. And let me just double check that. Nope. Okay, append class is not a function. Okay. JavaScript element add class. How does this work? Class list. How do I add a class name to an element with JavaScript? Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. Oh, he's straight up just threw the class list. Okay, that's goofy. Okay, whatever. Dot class list dot append. Was that what it was? It's just an array, I guess. Oh, it's add? Wait, what's add versus append? What? Is this right? What is class list? Element dot class list. Is this something goofy? Is this some kind of weird thing? Oh, DOM token list. Okay, so it's not actually an array. It's a something weird. Okay, I'm wondering if append works. I'm just curious. I'm going to try append. See what it does. No, and also it's complaining about something that I did not expect. So it's saying cannot read property append of undefined. So actually can't. Is it a class list? It's like this. Yeah. All right. So one thing at a time. I think I'm messing up a few things. All right. Okay. So now div.classList is a thing, but append is not a thing because it's not an array. It's this goofy DOM token list thing because JavaScript is so weird. Fine. It's one of those like array-like objects. That's not actually an array. But that worked, and how I can confirm that is let me inspect one of these elements and I can see the class is there. Cool. All right, that works. So I've got my class on it, and what do I want to do next? I want to, I don't know, just kind of build this out. So let me maybe take some inspiration from how I already do it on my website. What are these things? What is this? This is, oh, it's just an A, which I guess makes sense. Yeah, okay, I buy that. Okay. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say it's going to be like an A followed by an image followed by maybe a description. Yeah, okay. So inner HTML equals a, and it's going to get kind of gross, but, and maybe I could use, what's it called? JavaScript has that weird thing with strings. It's like template literals, something like that. So with backticks, yeah, this goofy thing with the $ stuff. So instead of like building a string of like plus signs and stuff, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to eventually get rid of those plus signs. And let's do it right now, actually. So this will be what? $, parenthesis, curly bracket with what? Listing dot, what did I call it? URL? Yeah, URL. And $, curly brace. So now my inner HTML is an A tag with an href of the URL and content of the title. So I would expect the page to show links instead of titles. Let's see. Oh, that actually worked. So link, 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 and if I click one, I do indeed get to the right thing. So that's Harry Potter, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, all right, that's working. Cool. And so, you know, it's just flat HTML now. I'm going to add CSS in a second, but I think this pattern works pretty well. So maybe I'll change this to plus equals just to like keep with the same pattern, plus equals, and then I want an image. So like image source equals something. And what that something is $ listing dot what dot image small URL. So I'm suspicious that when I prepared this JSON, I actually messed something up. Oh, no, I see what it is. Okay, it's actually here that the URL is different. Okay. It's just coincidentally like it ends in the same thing and it's like the same length, but whatever, I didn't mess anything up. Well, I probably messed something up, but I didn't mess this particular thing up. But I can use this property that I'm getting from my JSON in my JavaScript. And what do I need to do? I need to close my, whatever this $ thingy is called, token, probably. Token expression, yeah, okay. And let's see. So I would expect each of these to then have an image that follows it. And so another thing I do while I'm coding is I like think to myself what I expect to happen before I run my code, so I can kind of directly compare what I expect to what happens. So I expect the images to pop up, and they do. They actually worked really well. All right. Yeah, and these thumbnails are like generated by Etsy, I think. I think I can probably customize them, but I doubt that I have. And so it's like cut off, but it's fine. Yeah, nice. And so I might maybe add some CSS. So what do I want to do here? I want to maybe have styles.css here, styles.css. Windows will yell at me. Yes, it will. That's fine. And what do I want to do? I want to say like dot Etsy thumbnails. Is what I call the div, and I want to do something like, maybe I'll just add a border for funsies just to get started. Thin solid black. And maybe I'll say like display inline block to make them show up next to each other. And maybe I'll say, I don't know, margin 25 pixels, something like this. And I need to actually add that CSS, and I never remember the exact syntax for that. Let's just steal it from somewhere. So if I don't remember how to do something, I want to consult some tutorials. I could just Google like CSS tutorial, but I know exactly where mine happens to be. So I'll go there, CSS, and I want to go to external style sheets, and here's the link I'm looking for. All right, here's the code I'm looking for. And I've got my script, and now I've got my styles. And is that what I called the other file? Styles.css? Sure. Yeah, okay. So now I would expect to see like the styles kick in, and I should see the they should be in like rectangles with a border, and they should show up like next to each other. Well, it might like wrap, but that's fine. So that's funny. It's kind of they're still next to each other. So one thing I might do, I have a few ways to do this. Could add like a line break. I could add some styles. Let me actually see what I do for these thumbnails, just so I'm kind of consistent. So if I look down in here, how do I make it so that like these are all next to each other, or not next to each other rather? So I say A. Do I give this a style? No, I don't. I think I just make the thumbnail a certain width, and then I give the image a width as well. Yeah, okay, that's how I do it. And that's fine. So I can do something similar over here. I can say in my CSS, I can say width, I don't know what this should be. Let's make it, I don't know, 300 for now. And then I'll say .etsy thumbnail image. So now I'm looking at the image inside of the div. I'll give this, I don't know, the same kind of width, or maybe slightly smaller. I don't know, we'll see. Just to see what this looks like. Closer, that's closer. So now you see like the title, then the image, and you still see some wrapping just because I have the width has like that white space here. But it's fine. It's all right. I'll fix it all as we go, but I want to get like the content kind of ready. So I'm debating whether I even want to show the description, but let's see what this looks like. Div.inner HTML plus equals, and maybe I'll have like a p tag, and I'll have $, what is it, listing dot description, probably. I can just double check. Description. I'm guessing that's what I called it. Description, yeah. So now I'd expect the description to show up underneath the image, and it does. And yeah, I don't hate that. That's fine. So now what do I want to do? I want to... I'm debating whether I want it to, like, how closely I want it to look like these versus being its own thing. And I don't know. I kind of want to make it separate, but I don't want it to be too spammy. Like, I don't want these to appear to be like, I don't know, like external advertisements. It's like directly tied to Happy Coding. Like all this code is, you know, somewhere on the site. Like this is, you know, Random Walkers. There's a video on this one. But maybe I'll just make it look okay in this page, and then port it over and see how we feel. So one thing I do want to do is probably make these images a little smaller, I think. So what are they right now? They are, well, I made them 250. What happens if I get rid of that? Oh, so I actually made them bigger. Oh, okay. So what are they by default? They're 170 by 135, which makes sense because I think that's what we saw in here. So by default, they're 170 by 135. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's what I want. Just like that's the, you know, some designer at Etsy has decided that 170 by 135 is some reasonably good looking aspect ratio. So maybe I'll keep it. So what does that mean? It means I should check out my CSS, and maybe instead of this being 250, maybe I'll make it, well, this is the thing. Well, hold on, let me think about this. This one will just go away, and then maybe this is the thing that's 170. What happens? Not terrible. It's fine. The height's a little goofy, but we can deal with that in CSS. I kind of don't love the border. I You know, I don't know. I could go back and forth, but let me just maybe steal some styles. Oh, so actually with the with how I do it, I put the image on top. Let's see how I feel about that. Now I'm just like plagiarizing my own previous decisions. So what does that mean? That means this goes down here. Yeah, okay. I mean, again, the height is goofy, but seems fine. All right, a couple things I need to do. Let's see. So that hello world is annoying me. We're just going to change this to like Etsy listings just for fun. And I should probably use something that, you know, makes those the same height. What do I do over here? I'd probably use some kind of flexbox thing. Yeah, let's try that. So what I'm going to do is what? I have Etsy listings index. So I have this Etsy listings div over here. That's the container div. Yeah, maybe I will give this a style and say, what do I want? Display flex, and that's all I'm going to do for now. And I don't think I need this anymore because that'll be kind of inferred. Well, it'll be not inferred, but it'll use flex instead of that thing. And what do I want? I want flex direction. Flex direction. What is this? I don't remember. Let's do this. See listings, display, wait, what? Oh, wait, see listings, that's not what I expected. Oh, wait. Oh, that's an ID, right? Okay, there we go. Okay, whoa, that's funny. Okay, there you can see I'm kind of, maybe I'm keyword stuffing a little bit here. Just every Harry Potter movie title. It's kind of embarrassing. Yeah, that's more reasonable. I should probably double check some of this stuff. All right, that's looking fine, actually. That's looking pretty reasonable. I kind of don't care about the description. It's debatable, I guess. I'm not sure. Whatever. Let me do a couple things. Let's check out what happens if I go to my JavaScript. Let me change my number to, I don't know, 5. Let's see what happens, just to see. Okay, so you just get a horizontal scroll bar. So I know that I'm not going to want that to happen over in Happy Coding, but maybe it's okay for as far as I want to take it here. Yeah, I mean, from here, it's kind of going to depend on some specifics of how it looks in the Happy Coding page. But I mean, this works pretty well as like just an example. Let me think about this. So how long have we been going? Probably about 45 minutes. Let me double check. Yeah, just about 45 minutes. So I'm going to maybe take a break here and say, you know, if what you wanted out of this video was an example that showed how to use an API, so how to call an API. In my case, that's this API that I kind of created. But the idea is the same. Even if I went to the raw output of the API, the idea would be the exact same concepts and whatnot. So if that's like as far as you were interested in going, then maybe I'll just recap. What I did was I used the fetch function to retrieve the content from my API, and then I used the JSON function to convert that into, in this case, it's an array because that's what the content contains. And then I picked, in this case, 5 random indexes from that array, and then I used those random indexes to build some content based on random listings from that JSON and built some HTML based on each individual listing and added that HTML to the page. So if that's what you were looking for, then this is like a good stopping point for you. And you can take that and build a bigger website around whatever API you are calling, or take this and put it into an existing web page, and it'll work because the concepts are the same no matter where your code lives. But what I want to do is I actually want to move this over to Happy Coding. Right now it's just in this example index.html file, and that's fine if all you were looking for was an example, but my actual end goal was to modify happycoding.io. And so that's what I'm going to do next. But if you're feeling like you got enough out of this video, then by all means, pause or stop, and that's totally fine. But maybe this will be like the bonus features or whatever. Maybe I should split this into 2 videos, but I'm too lazy to do that. So I'm just going to keep trucking. So I have the basics in place. I have my JavaScript, I have the HTML that I'm building, and right now it's in this index.html page. And what do I need to do? I need to put this in happycoding.io, or at least in the local version of what I'm running. So if this might get a little confusing if you've never seen Jekyll before. So I will say that, like, if you haven't read up on Jekyll, then if you see something weird in the code that I'm about to look at, then chances are it's because it's Jekyll, not straight HTML, not straight JavaScript, but something else that I use to build Happy Coding. And if you're not familiar with that, then I have a video on it that I made recently, or you can come here and learn all about it. So that's my fair warning. And with that said, let me just kind of do it, I guess. All right, so, oops, what is this? So that's my code that actually gets the stuff, converts from the raw API to my custom API, but we don't care about that right now. We care about Happy Coding. So here's the directory that contains the code that I can run locally, and let me maybe start that up a while. And what do I want to do? So I have prepared one thing ahead of time, and that is I've created this this Etsy listings.js file. Right now it's just empty. And so what do I want to do? I want to take the content that I've already written from where I stored it on the desktop, and I want to put it in happycoding.io. Sure. Yeah. And the other thing that I already did was in Happy Coding, in the layouts directory in default, I have already added it to the head section. I did this ahead of time only because it takes a long time to run, honestly. Right now this is hopefully done because I use this like incremental flag, but if I don't use this, which is what I have to do when I modify layout, it actually takes like 90 seconds, which will just make for a boring video. But the idea is the same. I've added this script file to the head section of my HTML, and I have added this Etsy listings.js to my JS directory that I load from the HTML. All right, and what do I want to do next? What I want to do is go back to Happy Coding. I want to go to the index, and where am I? Here. So here's the index file that I load for Happy Coding, and here's some of that weird like Jekyll stuff. And if you've never seen Jekyll, it's fine. You can kind of ignore it, but if you're curious about this, then go check out that other tutorial. And I actually thought about using something like this to build what we're talking about now, this like random Etsy thing, but the way Jekyll works is that would end up being like pretty static anyway, so I decided to use JavaScript. And oh, actually, I modified this just a little tiny bit. So I have added a div with an ID of Etsy listings here. And okay, so a couple things. One, so first of all, I need to call this script. And you know what? Actually, now that I'm kind of looking at it, I think I'm going to do this a little differently. I think I'm not going to include this in default.html because that's going to include that script in every single page, and I don't know. I don't want the Etsy listings on every single page, so I'm going to delete that, and that's probably going to break a bunch of stuff. Crap. Maybe it'll be fine, or maybe it won't be. You know what? I'm just going to kill this server for now. This is kind of behind the scenes stuff that you don't really need to care about, but it's Jekyll. Like the fact that I modified a layout file means that I need to build the whole site again, which is going to take a while, but it's fine. Let me just put it where it needs to go. Needs to go in this index, and I'm going to do something a little goofy. I'm going to put it like here. Whoops, did I not copy it? Whatever. Script source equals what? /js /Etsy listings.js /script. Okay, fine. Let me run my server, and I can't run with incremental, otherwise things will not work how I want them to. Let me just run the whole thing. This will take about 90 seconds, but maybe I'll think about what I'm doing while that's running. So here I am on index.html, and I've added like this h2, this div, and I'm importing the script here, or loading the script here. That script will be this file, which is right now just a copy of the file that we had already used. And right now, nothing actually calls any of these functions. So maybe down here, what I'll do is I'll say like get Etsy listings. And so let's close a couple things out. I can close this out. That'll keep around. And yeah, fine. So if I go back to my index file for happy coding, when this script is loaded, it will run this file, which will define our functions, and will actually call this. So I could have done a couple things here. I could have said like, I could have set up like a body on load, but it's fine. I think I can just run it directly like this. And if not, we'll find out. Again, we're just waiting for this to finish running. This is a window into my life, I guess. A lot of writing happy coding stuff is just waiting for this this command to finish. But let me see, what else do I need to think about? So the other thing I'll need to think about is CSS. So I might, oh, what is this? Oh, it's just something I got rid of. So I need to think about porting the CSS over, but I think I know how to do that. All right, so this is finished. And so what do I want to do? I want to open up a new tab to localhost 4000, which is like happy coding running locally, and scroll down. And that worked actually. It does not have the styles, but everything else is in place. So the image, the title, and the description, which the more I think about this, the more I think I'm going to get rid of it, but whatever, one thing at a time. So the next thing I want to do is copy this over basically. So I'm going to copy this, make sure I'm actually copying it this time, from my like example index styles.css here over to my actual happy coding CSS, which is in here. It's going to be in main. So this file is already loaded, and where do I want to put this stuff? I have nav, I have left nav, I have content, I have some, all right, here's like general styles. Where do I put, like, okay, so here's like thumbnail. Some of the spacing's a little goofy. I'll fix that while I'm here. Yeah, okay. So these are the thumbnails, and maybe I'll put them after the thumbnails. Tags, yeah, okay. Maybe I'll put them here. And I don't think I need a comment because like it's just Etsy stuff, so it's kind of obvious. Fine. Okay. So I called this ID Etsy listings. Let's see if oh, actually, you know what? While I'm here, while I'm messing around, I'm going to, now I can run this with incremental, which again is going to take a while to load the first time around, I think, but whatever, I'm tinkering anyway. So I've got my CSS over in my CSS file that I load from Happy Coding, so that's good. That's already loaded from my main or my default layout, my Jekyll layout. So next thing I need to do is double check that my ID matches. So I just called it Etsy listings. Etsy listings. Yeah, okay. At least I'm consistent. Okay. So what would I expect to happen? I would expect when I refresh this page, I would expect the styles to be in place, and I would expect this, like the stuff embedded in Happy Coding, to look more like what I have here, which is like the Flexbox stuff and the width and whatnot. And we are just waiting for this thing to finish. How long did it take last time? 99 seconds. So we're waiting until that finishes. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid by preparing this stuff ahead of time, but whatever. Maybe it's I kind of always say this like in every video, but my goal with these videos is to kind of show you the real process of coding something. Because I think a lot of videos and tutorials and whatnot, they talk a lot about like the theory, and they talk a lot about like, here's like what happens in the happy path. Like if nothing goes wrong, here's how it would work. But that's never what it actually looks like in real life. You always hit weird corner cases and weird situations that you have to debug, and you always like go down weird rabbit holes and all that stuff. So part of my goal here is to show like this kind of weird background stuff that other videos might skip over. Or maybe that's just my excuse for being lazy and not doing any video editing. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. But all right, that finished, and we can go over here to Happy Coding, and I refresh, and I should see like the updated styles. And I do. And actually, what happened? Why is it? Oh, that's funny. So let's just examine this a little bit, because that's not quite what I expected. Oh, I know what happened. Okay, so I have some existing CSS on the site that basically restricts the width of images, so that, you know, if I don't know, this picture of, oh, poor Stanley. If this picture of Stanley was too large, I don't want that to just like go off the page and be crazy. So I have this this style in place, this max width style that applies to every image. And that's what's happening here, because let's see, if I get to Etsy listings, well, first of all, I guess I have a typo in my CSS, which I forgot about. Let me close a couple things. Close desktop. Yeah, so now we're just all up in Happy Coding, and yeah, okay, flex direction. Whoops. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Display, flex, there's a width somewhere. Somewhere there's going to be a width. And oh, duh, it's here. So width is, width is 170, but is that actually what it is? No, it's 88. So I'm sure there's a width on one of these things, maybe on the content div. Yeah, this thing has a width. All right, yeah, I see. So I give the content a width, and because the content has a width, and I think that this thing is also flex, by the time we get down to the Etsy listings div, that thing also has a width. And because I'm using flex, and in here each thumbnail will also have a width, and the image is only allowed to be a certain percentage of its parent, that's why these images are small, which actually is kind of fine. It's not quite what I want to happen, but it's, you know, it's fine. And I can kind of demonstrate some of this by modifying this. So the site's going to explode if I do this, but whatever, it's just for fun. Let's see. Yeah, there you see it. So now the images are no longer restricted, and you see what happens, which is actually exactly why this style is here. But anyway, all of that was kind of explain what was happening. But what do I want to do? I want to. So I think 5's too much, but I think I also want to let things wrap. So here in Etsy thumbnail, it's like flex wrap. I'll go through some options, and I don't know why that didn't work. Wrap. I thought that would have worked. Oh, that's because I'm on the wrong thing. Duh. I don't want to be on Etsy thumbnail. I want to be on the Etsy like parent. So if I do flex wrap and just kind of look at some options, wrap reverse. Okay, wrap does exactly what it what you might expect. It wraps the content instead of squishing it. So I think I definitely want that in Etsy listings. Flex wrap, and what else do I want to do? I think I want to get rid of the descriptions. I think those are just kind of too long. Let's see how we feel. So this should be done because I'm doing incremental. That's fine. So it'll be a lot faster from here on out. Yeah, okay. So you can maybe think like, hey, I'm a visitor to Happy Coding. I'm scrolling through. What is this site? Oh, this is so cool. I love it. And oh wow, look at this amazing art. All right, that's not bad. I do want to separate this though with my favorite HTML tag, good old-fashioned HR. And I'm tending to prefer to not have this like self-closing tag. It's not needed anymore, so maybe I'll clean this up while I'm here. This has nothing to do with the video. Now I'm just being ridiculous. But again, this is what coding looks like. Go down this random rabbit hole for a while, come back, okay? So now we should have like a nice little line there. Fine. And let's see, what else do I want to do? Etsy, maybe I'll like explain some of this. So here are some random, what do you want to call these things? I don't want to call them listings because that's kind of like an internal, shouldn't have called that. Etsy art, maybe support Happy Coding, maybe, I don't know. This is kind of goofy. This isn't actually why I'm doing it, but it kind of just explains it in a way that is a little cleaner. So like, maybe I'm going to write this and see how gross it feels to me. So if you want to support Happy Coding, consider buying some digital, I guess it's not digital art, some prints from Etsy. Maybe, I don't know. Feels gross. We'll see. Fine. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, so I like that, but it's also kind of gross, so I don't like that. I don't like this. There's a few things I don't like here. One thing I don't like is how much white space this has, which is coming from that margin that I added. So margin of 25 is probably way too much. Probably take it down like 5 or 10. 5 maybe. Or maybe instead of having a margin here, actually that's not bad. Where's that coming from? Where's this white space coming from? Is that coming from the image? So this is 170. What's, oh, the image, right. Okay, so the image, that's funny. The image has a max width of 95%, so there's like a 5% margin on it. That's funny. Okay, whatever. I think that's okay. It's kind of gross that this just kind of hangs out down at the bottom, but that's going to depend on how wide my screen is. Yeah, I don't love it. So now I'm just kind of staring at what this looks like. I think, yeah, I think first of all, let's get rid of that description. I don't like it. Oops. Okay, that's in the JavaScript. And if I refresh, I should see the description is gone. Yeah, okay, that's not bad. Whoops, I forgot to take out my margin. So I'll take my margin out. Yeah. Refresh too soon. Here we go. It's not terrible. Kind of, some of the titles are a little dumb, too long. These long titles make sense on Etsy. I don't think they make sense here. All right, let me think about a couple things. How do I do it on like the tutorial sites? I have like a Div Style that I use. So like, yeah, maybe these were bad examples, but yeah, like here, like center is the last one, which is maybe a little better. And how do I do that? Is this just justify content? Yeah, maybe. Let's see what that looks like. Here, justify content. And let's just see what these look like. So center is, it's okay. I think we're gonna find a better one though. So space around, space between, space evenly. So I think it's between space around and space evenly. What's the difference? Space around seems to give it a little bit more white space. Yeah, okay, I think space around is the one I'm going for. The other thing I could do is like not have more than will fill the screen, although that's like, you see what happens, it gets super tiny, although I don't know how realistic that is. I guess 320 is about as small as I'm going to be able to go on like an iPhone. Whatever, I'll check that in a second. But all right, I've been messing around with the CSS for way too long. Maybe let's just try something. What I want here, like justify content. What did we say was the better one? I lost it, but I think it was space around. Okay. That's not the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It's okay. It's not the best thing I've ever seen either, but it's all right. Yeah, okay. I think I can live with it. What do I want to do? I want to, maybe I'll check what this looks like on some other devices. So what's it look like on a Pixel? Okay. So you can imagine you're on a phone, you're scrolling through. In those cases, everything's just kind of in one column. So you can still click on stuff without it being too tiny. Then you get down here, and yeah, it's not bad. I think it needs more like vertical spacing. So what do I do here? I guess I just give it a margin of something. Margin is 10. Okay, so margin 10 seems reasonable. So maybe I'll bring that margin back. I want that over here. 25 is too much, but 10 seems to be okay, just so that you're, spaced out a little bit more than rather than being directly on top of each other. So let's see what this feels like. Yeah, it seems better. And another thing I know I want to do is I want to make the image clickable. Right now it's not. Right now it's just an image. So let me do that here. And where do I want to do that? I want to do that here. I could maybe make the whole thing an A, but that's kind of yucky. So I'll just make two separate A tags. A. I think JEdit is disliking my my syntax. We'll see what breaks. That seemed to work. Let me get rid of this thing for a second. So now, does this work? So black and white, if I click the image, does it go to the right place? It does. Cool. Okay. I think we're getting there. Yeah, I don't hate that. That seems okay. Yeah, okay. Let me maybe check what this looks like on some other devices. iPhone 5 is like the smallest. That's not bad. I don't hate this. You're scrolling through, you get down here. Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, I'm kind of into this. I think we're getting pretty close to like what I would call done. So some of the default stylings work, like this like orangey text, whatever, the link color. Let me think about what this looks like on the widest. So the other places I'm showing 6, and these have a width of 200. I know that. And I think 6 will work as well here. So let's try that. So that's back in my JavaScript. I need to change my loop here. Yeah, okay. Let me look at my HTML for a second. Yeah, it seems okay. There's a ton of different ways I could have done this. I think this is harmless. It means that I don't have to load this script on every single page. It means that I don't have to add something in the body section. It means I don't have to add anything to the head. So I think I like that. CSS, there's only like a couple styles, so I'm not. That's fine. I think putting it in the main CSS is okay. I could have put it in here as well, but yeah, I think it's all right. So this is probably done loading. Let's see what 6 looks like. Yeah, 6 feels pretty good. All right. I think I'm getting close to being done. One thing I thought about doing is maybe making this width 200, but these have a width of 200 and a height of 100, and that helps them not like fill up the sort of vertical aspect of this page. But if I made these 200, then they would get even taller, and I don't want this to take up like a ton of room. So I think I want to keep them the width that they are. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm debating whether I want like a little blurb down here, like this, like read more blog posts here. Like, I don't have it in every other section, so all right. Now I'm getting down to like the really obsessive details of it. So I'm going to maybe just take this link and I'm going to put that in my HTML itself. And I'll link Etsy here. Href equals my website. Sure. Fine. And that feels okay. All right. The last thing I want to obsess over, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because it's the kind of thing that's going to be really hard to do like while talking. It's something I want to think about probably, is like what I actually want here. So I've called it support happy coding, and I think that's okay. But that's really not my actual end goal. My end goal is not to tell people to give me money or anything like that. My end goal is just like another, like, hey, here's another example of cool stuff you can do with coding. And, just some cross-pollination. I hate SEO type stuff, but, having this kind of link, I think is just overall a good thing. But I don't want to get spammy, and I don't want to get, I don't know, whatever word you want to use, but I don't like telling people to give me money, because that's not why I'm doing this stuff. So this is kind of a lie, or maybe an oversimplification. So instead of support, maybe I'll call it like happy coding Etsy, a little bit more neutral. Oh my god, I can't spell Etsy. Etsy. Happy coding prints, maybe. Happy coding. Happy. Here, maybe I'll just be a little bit silly. Maybe I'll just call it happy arting. Fine. You can also check out creative coding prints on the happy coding Etsy. Maybe something like this. How do we feel about this? Creative. Examples, blogs, arting. Yeah, okay, I don't hate that. Yeah, okay, that seems reasonable. It's kind of goofy, it's kind of funny. It's not like, crying for support like the other version was. Just kind of a goofy thing that's hanging out at the bottom. And it says you can also check out, so it's not like telling people what to do. Creative coding prints on the happy coding Etsy, which takes you to the happy coding Etsy. Fine, this link works. Okay, I think that's about it. I think that's where I'm going to call it. And like this last 10 minutes or so is an example of the kind of things I obsess over. I know that it probably doesn't actually matter, but I don't know, it matters to me that people are getting the right message. One thing I do want to do actually is give those images a border. So what do I give this? Is this black or 32? 32. Okay, so maybe I'll do that. In my CSS, over here, Etsy thumbnail. Oh, I don't have style for that anymore. That's funny. Etsy thumbnail image, and I want to give it a border of thin, solid, hashtag 32. I know it's not a hashtag, don't yell at me. Whatever, everything can be a hashtag if you believe in yourself. Refresh, and that's a bad example because there's all light anyway. Yeah, okay, that's I think that looks kind of cool. It's real subtle, but I think it kind of just frames it a little bit better. Okay, I think I'm done. Yeah, okay. The last thing I would do is upload this to GitHub by opening up GitHub and double checking that this is right. So maybe I'll actually do this. So what do I have? I have CSS, width, margin. Sure. Yeah, index. That's funny how all my HRs and yeah, okay. I'm wondering if I need to do something just in case something fails, but I don't think that's very likely, especially because my sort of JSON API is coming from something that I have complete control over. So that's one of the benefits of creating my own page or my own file. So maybe I won't worry too much about that. Maybe it's something I'll add if it ever comes up as a problem. And let's see, maybe I'll clean out my JavaScript real quick. And container div, sure. fetch stuff. Actually, it seems pretty clean already. Yeah, there's not much I would change here. Yeah, seems fine. So add Etsy links. Sure, good enough. And that is pushing the changes that I just made to my local copy that I've just been running, like localhost, to the Happy Coding, the actual like live web page. It'll take a while to actually be reflected here. GitHub Pages is going to run its Jekyll thing. It's going to upload the files and whatnot, but in a few minutes when I refresh, it'll be here. So you have seen the whole process of taking an original, my original goal of taking my Etsy listings, my Etsy links, whatever you want to call these things, and using the Etsy API so first of all, what I did is I created a processing sketch that directly called the API, because the raw output of the API is a little bit messy, and I honestly, I just want to kind of understand it. So that's why I wrote the processing sketch, which gives me a file like right at the end. I call save JSON array to Etsy listings.json, and then I uploaded that to happycoding.io exactly like I would upload any other file. And that gave me my own sort of personalized API JSON file. And I took that and I wrote JavaScript. First, I wrote it in kind of a standalone environment over in like some simpler, smaller files. So over here in like index.html, where the only content is this. And I do that because it makes debugging easier. You're only working in like a single file, and you don't have to worry about any of the existing styles or anything like that. So that's why I wrote it over here. And then once that was working, then I ported it over to Happy Coding, and I had to think for a second about exactly how I wanted to do that, but I ended up putting it directly in the index.html file and calling or loading the script from the HTML, which is totally fine. It just kind of changes like when things happen, rather than put it in the head just for kind of organizational purposes. And from there, the JS stayed mostly the same. I think the only changes I made were I changed the 5 to a 6 and I stopped adding the description. I think those are the only changes I made to the JS. And then I fiddled around with the CSS until it looked okay in the actual page. And then I uploaded it to happycoding.io. I doubt it's ready yet, but let's just double check. Yeah, not ready yet. But maybe I won't wait for it to be ready because it'll take some number of minutes. I don't know. So I will say that you can take the concepts that I talked about here, like finding an API and testing that API out, and maybe writing a smaller program that reads from the API and outputs some formatted data, and create your own output. And I might take another pass at this, and like there's some things I didn't use. So like I didn't use the big URL of like the bigger image. I did not use the description. So maybe I'll go through and get rid of that in my custom file. But whether you're using a custom file or the raw output of an API, the ideas are the same. So if you're using an API that gives you JSON, you can use the fetch function in JavaScript to get the content of the file or of the URL, and then convert it into JavaScript objects and arrays using the JSON function. And then you can work with it just like any other JavaScript variable, because that's exactly what it is. It is a JavaScript variable that points to an array that was created from this JSON string. And if you want to learn more about all of that stuff, then you know where to go. Come to happycoding.io. I'm going to quickly check here if it's done yet. It's not. Come to tutorials, go to JavaScript, and then check out the fetch function over here. And you can learn more all about like what I kind of glossed over in this video. All right, okay, we're done. I want to maybe just double check one more time. Oh, there it is. Cool. So all I've done is refresh happycoding.io, and oh no. Oh wait, okay, I know what's happening. So the styling's a little gross, and that's just because this is funny. It's because of caching, basically. My browser has cached the CSS file, and so this will fix itself in some number of minutes, or I can do I think it's Control F5 and it'll clear the cache, but yeah, it's kind of a minor annoyance, but whatever. But here we are. Here's the output of everything that we just did over the last however long it was on happycoding.io. So this was sort of an end-to-end example of how I would approach making a real change to a real web page using a real API. So I hope that was interesting, and if you found this stuff informative and you managed to use the concepts to query your own API, whether that's the Etsy API or some other API, there are a ton of APIs out there. But if you use these concepts and write your own code that uses an API to build something, whether that's a web page or something else, I would love to hear from you. So please leave a message either in the comments of this video or come to happycoding.io and come to our forum and come say hello over here. I would love to hear from you. But for now, I will say thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day. And as always, of course, happy coding.